Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another random review. Today's random review is going to be on Ichi the Killer by Takashi Miike, and this is from 2001. Now this is one of Takashi Miike's more extreme films, and that's saying something if you're familiar with Takashi Miike's work. He started off in the J video market, making up to 6 films a year, and that might actually be an underestimation. And then he kind of broke internationally in 1999 with Audition, which was shown at Cannes, and people were walking out. And if you've seen Audition, you might know why. This is a 2001 film. It's based on a manga, and it's really one of the best films ever made about sadomasochism and kind of understanding the true relationship between sadomasochism. And it really explores the feelings of inflicting pain and having pain inflicted on you. Now, obviously it's not for everybody, and if you don't like extreme violence, then Takashi Miike in general is probably not a filmmaker for you, and certainly Ichi the Killer will not be a film for you. The story is fairly straightforward, as in most Takashi Miike films, but he just layers lots of kind of perversities and idiosyncrasies, shall we say, onto that story. So it's essentially about Ichi the Killer, who the person on the cover isn't Ichi the Killer. This is Kakahari, played by Tadano Asano, who gives a fantastic performance. So a gangland boss has been killed. Kakahari has a special relationship with him, as in he beats him up and he loves him pretty much for the pain he inflicts on him. And he's convinced he's still alive while everybody else says he's probably dead. There's a bunch of money missing, and throughout the film he tracks people down and pretty much tortures them to find out where his beloved boss is. The torture scenes are pretty legendary, I would say, involving hooks and boiling water, and his speciality of sticking long needles in places where long needles don't really belong. You would think the tone of this film would be quite dark, but there's actually a lot of comedy in it, if you're that way inclined. But I suppose I should actually talk about Ichi the Killer. It's easy to get carried away with Kakihara and Tadano Asano's performance, which is just fantastic, as is his wardrobe. It's just, he wears fantastic coloured suits. Ichi the Killer is kind of quite a sad character. He's kind of been hypnotised by an evil mastermind, strangely enough played by Takashi Miike, the director himself. And he's pretty much been hypnotised to the point where all the people he kills were involved in the rape of a girl he at school. Yep, it's Takashi Miike after all. So as you'd expect, there's body fluids, there's lots of arterial spray, There is quite a lot of strong violence towards women, but then there's strong violence against everybody. But bizarrely, end, it's actually quite moving. Kakihara gets so worked up and excited about finally meeting Ichi the Killer and hopefully actually getting killed by Ichi the Killer. And then in the climax, his expectations are perhaps a little bit let down. Perhaps the same as the audience. But then Takashi Miike turns the expectations on their head, as he pretty much does with quite a lot of things. But in the end, you actually root for Kakihara to get, an exciting death, because he's just, he gets goosebumps and he's like so nervous about finally meeting Ichi the Killer. It is actually quite funny and strangely quite moving at the end, because all he wants is pretty much to have pain inflicted upon him. So again, it's not a film for everybody. And there is a couple of characters who almost represent the audience. There's a cop who's disgraced because he lost his service weapon, and he gets hired by the gang, and his son kind of loosely befriends Ichi. So again, the disgraced cop character kind of failed again, because his son actually knows Ichi, but he never actually realised that. So he kind of has an outward view of this very strange world. There's a kind of veteran lieutenant of Kakihara who is pretty much repulsed by Kakihara's methods of getting information out of people. So he spends a lot of the time saying, "I'll wait outside," while people get tortured in more bizarre and repulsive ways. Yeah, it's one of Miike's most visually interesting films. It's one of Miike's best, because he makes so many films just by the nature of his approach. Some are better than others. A lot of them are hit and miss, but this one's one of his best and most kind of perfectly realised films. And if you have the stomach for it, it's quite a fantastic film. This is a 4K restoration, which looks pretty good. Again, the original film stock I don't think it was that great, and this is 128 minutes, so I think this is pretty much and it's well worth seeing. Again, I'm not going to give too many details of what goes on. You can see Kakihara has interesting scarring and interesting facial marks. Yeah, the great thing about Takashi Miike, obviously his films aren't for everybody, and his films don't always work, but he genuinely, there's something in his films that you've never seen before, and in this day and age that's pretty rare. In the age of, you can predict pretty much what's going to happen in films 90% of the time, Takashi Miike will show you something you've never seen before. You might not want to see it. He might force you to watch things you don't really want to watch. But I think that's what art should be. It should be challenging. And and Takashi Miike at his best is certainly challenging. I wouldn't necessarily watch this on a full stomach, because it is kind of the definition of extreme cinema. But it is, like I said, Kakihara's character is just so interesting. I can't really think of a character in cinema of the equal of it. The fact that yes, he does terrible things and he tortures people, but all he really wants is to be beaten up or killed, because he just loves taking pain. And it is just a fantastic character. Again, based on a manga. I haven't seen the comic it's based on. I can imagine what it's like. Apparently this is a relatively faithful adaptation. So yes, if you like, or if you don't mind extreme violence, Ichi the Killer is a great film and I highly recommend it. And if you can, try and get the longest possible version. This is a Region A Blu-ray, 2001, Takashi Miike. Before, this probably isn't the one to start with. I probably would start with Audition, which is a relatively normal film for about an hour, and then work your way through. He does have a lot of films, but work your way through Dead or Alive, The Happiness of the Katakuris, Ichi the Killer, and then take it from there. So this is Solitary Ronin saying thank you very much for watching, and we'll hope to see you again. Please let me know what you think of Ichi the Killer if you've seen it before, or if you can name any films that are more extreme than Ichi the Killer, or have better subject matter on S&M. Please let me know. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you again.